All right, so listen, this could be the most important video I've ever made on this entire channel. And so my goal and my hope is that you walk away from today's video with a new mindset around your lead generation activities so that you can start putting the pieces together and making sense of what you're doing on a daily basis. So what I'm talking about specifically is what I refer to the agents that I coach, which is sales pipeline maturity. Because what happens often is a lot of us are, we feel like this sense of overwhelm, like we're just spinning our wheels, we're just making phone calls, we're just knocking doors, but we don't feel like we're actually making traction. My belief is that after this video, you're gonna feel completely different about that. So let's get into it. So the key concepts to understand when I start to unpack all of this for you guys today is number one, 95% of your appointments, okay, listen closely, your appointments are gonna come from lead follow-up, not the initial conversation, not the initial contact, not the initial call or the knock at the door. Most agents, when they start prospecting, they miss this massive point because they feel like if they didn't get the appointment on the first call, that they must be doing something wrong, that the call wasn't valuable, that it didn't work, or the strategy didn't work, or they failed. That's not the case. Only about 5% of the time will you call somebody on the first call, set that appointment, and go on that appointment. 95% of all the listing appointments that you're going to go on are going to come through building a pipeline that you're going to be able to visualize as of today's video. Number two, when we talk about conversations or contacts, okay, so conversations per hour should equal on average 7. This is all the data that I've gathered from all of my coaching clients, taking into new agents and experienced agents, agents with high skills, ones that are just beginning. But on average, you should be able to have 7 conversations per hour or 7 contacts per hour. The questions I always get in the comments is, Brandon, what is a contact? What is the definition of a conversation? This is a conversation with a homeowner about them moving or them selling their home. Whether the conversation goes good, it goes bad, you get an appointment, you don't, you get a lead, you don't, they hang up on you, doesn't matter. It's a conversation about real estate with a homeowner. That could be had either over the phone, at the door, over text, over email, over Messenger on Instagram. All of those are conversations. If you are absolutely dialed in and you're focused and you have discipline during the time block in which you are supposed to be prospecting, you should be able to have 7 conversations for every 1 hour of outbound prospecting. All right? So that's number 1. That's number 2. Let's go on number 3. 1 out of every 10 conversation, let me pick that up. 1 out of every 10 conversations should turn into a lead. Okay? So the definition of a lead, under the context of this video at least, is one of these homeowners that you talk to, and they tell you, and they share their motivation for selling the property. Okay? They share where they're going to move, when they would like to move, why they're looking to move, and they're open to giving you the opportunity to help them do so. That is the definition of a lead under the context of this video, okay? So that's number 3. Of every 10 conversations you have, you should be able to generate 1 of these seller leads. Number 4, it's going to take you on average 20 leads to get 1 listing appointment. It's a 5% conversion from lead to listing appointment set, okay? 5%. Now, I don't know what that, when you hear that or when you see that, what you're thinking, but I'll give you some perspective. When we look at that in comparison to internet leads, which is the other alternative, we can go out there and pay for leads versus generating them on our own. We can go pay them. The conversion's about 1%. Okay, so that gives you some context. That's why I'm such a fan of an unpaid outbound lead generation strategy first. Before you start spending money, that's why I like it, because the conversion rates are so much higher than buying leads from the internet and converting those. There's a place and time for those, but that's what we're talking about here, okay? So 20 leads will turn into one listing appointment on average. You might be better than this, you might perform worse than this, but this is an average, okay? Number 5, conversation timelines. This is the massive, massive thing. I cannot tell you how many of you on this channel have asked me, how long does it take? What do I need to do in order to get my first listing? This is going to be so crystal clear for you in a second, but let's look at this for a second. So I'm taking multiple lead sources into consideration. So when we look at expired listings, they convert on an average of 30 days. Okay? For sale by owners, usually on average about 2 months or 60 days. When we look at like an absentee owner lead, those would convert in about 90 days, and then a circle prospecting type of lead, whether that be a downsizer, a free and clear, a bullseye prospecting, or just your normal circle prospecting conversation. When you generate the lead to the time you're listing the property, the average for those is about 180 days. When we combine all of these different outbound lead sources, the conversion rate is about 90 days, okay? This is not a video to compare this strategy to other strategies, but I just want to give you one more piece of perspective. The average internet lead takes 6 months to convert. So the average direct outbound to consumer lead takes half the time, and it's free, and they convert higher. Again, it's why I like the direct unpaid outbound strategy, okay? Hopefully you're with me. As I go through this, if you have questions, you can use the comments to ask me those questions. Once I upload this to YouTube, I'll go back and answer your questions. So conversion timelines, on average, 90 days. Okay, average 35% closing ratio. So this is the one that I probably get the most questions on. This means when you set an appointment, okay, about 3 or 4 out of 10, you will convert. So in other words, for every 3 appointments you go on, you get one of them to sign a listing contract. Now, I can just hear you in the comments right now, especially the haters. Like, oh my gosh, that's so low. The national average is 25%, 1 out of 4. I'm using 1 out of 3. There are some agents that I coach where this is as high as 90%, 9 out of 10. Remember, this is an average, okay? This isn't best case, this isn't worst case. This is average because I want you to build a plan based on this pipeline maturity, worst case scenario, right? So I'm not going to give you best case numbers. I'd rather build a plan that's conservative so that you have there's no reason why you can't hit the goals that you have set, all right? So 35% closing ratio. These are just average. And then number 6 is the amount of listings you take to sold is an 80%. As the market shifts, most of you probably have 100% right now. It will shift down to probably 80 or 90%, meaning 8 or 9 out of 10 of the listings that you take will get to a closing table and you actually get paid, okay? These are the key concepts. These are the numbers we're going to use. You can screenshot this right now if you want, because I'm gonna go to the next page right now, okay? So you can always rewind and go watch that again. So with that in consideration, in order to get one listing on a consistent basis, let me share with you what that looks like, and then I will walk you through a strategy to get more if you want. So remember, based on the averages, number 1, it's going to take you about 90 days. This is the expectation. 90 days of your head down with consistency every day, day in, day out, day in, day out. You can't miss a day because it throws off all the averages, okay? That's our biggest issue in this industry is consistency. Number 2, you're gonna have to go on at least 3 appointments over the course of 90 days for you to get one of them to sign on average. You might get all 3. But on average, that probably isn't the case. You probably get 1 out of 3 over the course of 3 months. Number 3, you're gonna need to have 60 leads on average, or 60 people over the course of 3 months that tell you, yes, I wanna sell. Yes, here are the timelines. Here's where I'm moving. Yes, I'll give you the opportunity to earn my business. You will see how this manifests itself in just a second on the next page into actual appointments because it takes 90 days. You don't call one person one time, remember, and that turns into appointment today. It takes 90 days on average to get the appointment. Okay, so number 4, you're going to need 600 conversations in order to get 60 leads, 1 out of 10, in order to get your 3 appointments over 90 days. Hopefully this is starting to make sense. This breaks down to 10 conversations per day. That's all. 10 conversations every day over the course of 90 days, okay? You got weekends off, of course. I'm talking about Monday through Friday. So you got about 60 working days. It's 1 lead per day, right? 1 lead per day. It breaks down to about 10 conversations per day. That's going to take you about an hour and a half. Why? Because remember, 7 contacts per hour. So it's going to take you about an hour and a half to have your 10 conversations per day, which will allow you to get your 1 lead per day. Now, let's get into the pipeline, okay? I've been working on a way to give you a visual around this. I'm not even shitting you. I have been working on how I can show this audience here on YouTube this visual for months and months and months. This is what I think about. You can call me a dork, whatever you want to call me. This is what I've been working on, and I think that finally I've gotten closer to helping you understand and make sense of what you're doing on a daily basis. So here's how pipeline maturity works. This is broken down in the next 4 months, so you can see how this thing works. We got months 1, 2, 3, and 4. In each month, I have a visual that represents your pipeline. It assumes that you're going to be consistent with your outbound lead generation efforts, okay? So in month 1, 28 hours prospecting. This is an hour and a half per day for 20 days. That's 28 hours of you making outbound dials, knocking doors, sending text messages, sending emails, sending direct messages over Facebook and Instagram. This is all direct, unpaid, outbound activities. That will lead you to having 200 conversations over the course of your first month, which will allow you to generate 20 new leads. Remember, 10%, 1 out of 10. Now, there's nobody in the pipeline when you first start. There is nobody in the pipeline, so there's nothing to mature yet. This is what your first month looks like. There's nothing in the pipeline. You didn't set any listing appointments yet, right? Why? Because it takes 90 days. Okay, cool. No listings taken, and you haven't sold anything yet in your first month. As long as this stays consistent, here's what happens in month 2. In month 2, the 20 leads that you generated in month 1, they now come over into the pipeline in month number 2. Month 2, we still have 28 hours of outbound lead generation. We stay consistent. We have 200 new conversations, okay? That will generate us 20 new prospects to put into the pipeline. We have 20 people now in the sales pipeline for the first time. We said, okay, cool. I've now witnessed and visualized the compound effect happening in my business. These 20 people, nothing happened with those. You have to put them into your follow-up system. I'll make a whole new video about that. That goes over into month 2, where you start to follow up with these people. So in month 2, you still didn't set any listing appointments yet. You don't have any listings taken, and you didn't sell any listings yet. Now in your 3rd month, things start to happen. So when you hear people like myself tell you, listen, it takes 90 days minimum for you to start seeing some activity in your business, regardless of strategy, this is what we mean, all right? So in your 3rd month, again, 28 hours of prospecting, you're not working any harder. You're working the exact same. 200 new conversations, which will allow you to generate 20 new leads. Now, you have 40 leads in the pipeline that you've been following up with now for how long? 1, 2, 3 months. Now, the leads that you have generated, okay, right here, these 20 leads, okay, they come down, and this is where now you set 3 listing appointments from these 20 people. These drop down. That is the aha. So that's where they're coming from. So you set 3 appointments. Of the 3, 1 out of 3, you take a listing. You got your listing in your 3rd month. This is how long it takes you on average to get your first listing. Then we get into month 4, and the compound effect happens yet again. Still, we only have 28 hours of actual work. It's about an hour and a half a day of actual work. Leads us to 200 conversations, 20 new leads. Now we have 60 sellers in the pipeline, of which 3 turn into actual listing appointments in that month, because now those are coming from this month, and this month, right? It's all compounding into 3 new listing appointments, another listing you got in your 4th month, and you now have your first sale, your first commission check, because we listed a property in months 3, it closes and we get paid in month 4, and when we move forward into months 5 moving forward, as long as you stay consistent, this is how you can get consistently, month in and month out, 1 listing and 1 sale every single month. 12 sales a year. Now, for those of you that want to do more than that, what do we have to do? All we have to do is up these key metrics. Okay, if you want 2 listings a month and you want 2 sales per month, you can run the same strategy, but you just need 400 conversations instead of 200. That would break down to 20 conversations per month, or per day, rather. Okay, if you want 3, you need 30. If you need 4, you need 40. That's the key thing, right? So however many, and I'll leave you guys with that, however many deals you want per month, the number of conversations needs to reflect that, okay? So whatever the first number is in your daily conversations will be the number, as long as it's consistent over 90 days, it will turn into that many transactions. So 1 transaction requires you to have 10 conversations per day. If you want 2 transactions, you need 20. If you want 3, you need 30, so on and so forth. Here's the cool thing. After your 3rd year in business, your skills will increase dramatically. You'll start getting referrals. You'll start having past clients reach out. You'll start getting your sphere of influence to start reaching out and do business with you. That is when things get really fun. But none of that can happen unless you stay consistent. And that is the sales pipeline maturity. Finally, a visual. I'm hoping that you have a new outlook into what you're doing on a daily basis. Let me know if I did a good job on that or not, or what questions you have. If you found value, would love it for you to subscribe. If the channel stops providing you value, change your mind later. I'll put links to everything that would serve you in the description. And if you ever need help from a coaching perspective, we would be happy to have a conversation with you. I'll put a link below that as well. And we'll see you guys in the next video very soon. Thank you guys for your time and your attention today. I know it was a long one, but hopefully you got some good key takeaways. We'll talk to you guys soon.